There is a kind of creature in the world that has been discovered by a few people, but has not been confirmed to exist. We call this kind of creature unidentified mysterious animal, or UMA for short. Hello everyone, welcome to the UMA series of videos. This issue brings you a strange unknown creature from Ohio, USA, the Frogman, also known as the Ravaland Frogman. It is named after the city of Loveland where all the sighting reports came from. According to the description, this is a creature with a frog's head, but it can walk upright like a human, with wrinkled skin and no hair. It is about 4 feet tall, equivalent to a 7 or 8-year-old child. The earliest sighting record of this creature can be traced back to the 1950s, at about 3:30 a.m. in May 1955. An unknown businessman was driving on a remote road along the Little Miami River in Loveland when he passed a bridge and saw 3 bipedal reptiles gathered on the side of the road. They were called reptilian creatures because they were significantly different from humans. He described the creatures as being between 3 and 4 feet tall. The whole body is covered with gray, leathery skin. The hands and feet are webbed, and the frog-like head has no hair but deep wrinkles. Out of curiosity, the businessman got out of the car and hid in the distance to observe, and found that the 3 creatures seemed to be talking. Just as the businessman was about to sneak away, one of the creatures suddenly raised a cylinder like a magic wand above its head, and a ball of sparks was seen spraying out from the end of the cylinder, scaring the businessman to run away. Description of this story. There are actually 2 other versions of the story. One version says that the businessman did not stop his car after seeing the 3 creatures on the bridge, but immediately drove away from the bridge. Another version says that the story happened under the bridge, and the businessman stopped his car and honked the horn, angering the creatures. One of them jumped onto his hood and let out a hoarse roar, and the businessman fainted immediately. Due to the long time, the truth of the matter is no longer known, but the sightings did not end there. 17 years later, in 1972, 2 more sightings occurred in the same month. At about 1 a.m. on March 3rd of that year, a Loveland police officer named Ryan Shockey was driving along Riverside Boulevard toward Loveland when he saw a creature crossing the road in front of his car. He claimed that because the ground was icy, he had been driving slowly and carefully, so he was able to fully illuminate the creature with his headlights. According to the description he provided, the creature had lizard-like skin, was 3 to 4 feet tall, and weighed about 50 to 75 pounds. Although the author does not know how he weighed it, he was seen squatting like a frog and looking directly at Xiaoji. Then he stood up, climbed over the guardrail, and jumped into the river. Afterwards, Xiaoji called another police officer, Mark Matthews, to tell him about the encounter. Soon, on March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, Matthews also encountered the creature. That day, he was driving on Campbell Road near the Little Miami River when he suddenly found a body of something like an animal lying in the middle of the icy road. Just as he got out of the car to move it off the road, the creature suddenly jumped up and crouched. Matthews was startled by the animal, and in panic, he pulled out his pistol and shot the creature. This story also has a different information here. One version says that the creature was shot. It limped over the guardrail and jumped into the river and disappeared. Another version says that the creature was killed on the spot, and Matthews brought his body back to Shockey to show it, confirming that it was the monster that appeared 2 weeks ago. Considering the description of the creature's weight explained in Shockey's description of the sighting, I think the second version may be more reliable. The last sighting occurred on August 3rd, 2016, when Sam Jacobs was playing Pokemon Dog with his girlfriend near Madera Road. This is an augmented reality mobile game based on the A2 system, which requires players to constantly move around in reality to discover and capture new pet characters. At that time, the 2 were close to Lake Isabella and found this real creature that could not fit into the virtual pocket. Jacobs described it as a real giant frog, which stood up about 4 feet tall and walked on its hind legs. Here, it also provides photos and videos taken at the time. Next, let's adjust the brightness and contrast and slow down the video. Please observe carefully. Although the lighting in the shooting environment is not ideal, we can still see that this is a humanoid creature standing in the water, and based on the size of the eyes reflected by the flash, it can also be determined that this is definitely not a human. Once the video and photos were reported, they aroused doubts from many people. In order to make people believe him, Jacobs even swore that he had really seen him. Could this strange life form based on the relationship between frogs and humans really exist? First, let's look at these incidents. The sighting in 1955 is the most vague. The author also found many different versions during the search. There are doubts about the identity of the witness. Some say it was a businessman, some say it was a traveler, and some say it was a missionary, etc. There are also differences in the number of creatures witnessed. Most versions say there were 3 unidentified creatures standing on the bridge, while others say there were 4. The time and place of the incident also vary, and there is no actual evidence left, so its authenticity is very questionable. The 2 sightings in 1972 actually had subsequent stories. After the 2016 Pokemon incident, Officer Matthews, who shot the creature that year, contacted reporters. He also told me that what he saw was actually a large iguana without a tail, which might have been a pet that escaped from a nearby resident's home. Large iguanas usually refer to green iguanas among iguanas, which are large lizards that live in trees. Adult green iguanas can reach a maximum length of more than 2 meters and can live up to 10 years. In this sense, green iguanas are indeed the most popular lizard pets. But the question is why Matthews chose to change his story more than 40 years later, and based on the photos provided by Jacobs, we really can't connect it with the green iguana. Apart from these incidents from a long time ago, the frogman in the water in 2016 is the most imaginative. In the process of searching for information, the author found that many authors attributed this incident to a false hoax. I guess the reason is that the last paragraph of the wiki states that the incident was caused by a local high school student wearing a homemade frog costume. But in fact, these are 2 completely different stories. The high school student incident took place in 2020 and was a typical staged photo shoot, which is fundamentally different from the incident in 2016. Therefore, there is still no evidence to prove that this creature does not exist. Regarding the speculation about this creature, many people still believe Matthew's statement that it is a green iguana. Some people also link the frogman to another wild animal. In 1975, several people witnessed a 15-foot-long giant lizard called the Milton lizard in Knipsey, Kentucky, about 100 miles from the banks of the Ohio River in Loveland. According to witnesses, it has big eyes like a frog, a gray-white body covered with black and white cross stripes and small spots under its mouth, and the sightings were concentrated in July and August. However, this statement is unreliable because the Milton lizard has not appeared since 1975. Another theory is that the frogman is a coyote or other mammal suffering from mange. This theory is also common in speculations about other unconfirmed creatures. According to the 1978 distribution report, the distribution range of North American coyotes at that time was located in southwestern Ohio. It is very likely that the so-called frogman is some mammal with skin diseases and hair loss lesions due to insufficient light at night. It makes people have visual deviation. The name of frogman is thought to be influenced by the 1954 movie Creature from the Black Lagoon. The author does not agree with this statement. I think the age of the witnesses is enough to distinguish the characteristics of canine creatures, and the description of being able to stand cannot be explained in this theory. The last speculation tends to be mythical. As early as the late 17th century, French explorers arrived along the Little Miami River. The local Miami people warned that there was a river monster called Shawanohawk living in the middle of the river. They have the characteristics of frogs and humans, but they lack noses and hair. Their skin is dark and bumpy, and they secrete mucus. They have guarded the riverbank and driven away invaders since ancient times. The locals believe that this creature is immortal and will sink into the cool water of Little Miami to heal when it is injured. But the problem with this statement is that it is very old. At that time, people still had many gaps in their understanding of things. Regarding the UFO alien theory, the author will not repeat it here. Almost all unknown humanoid creatures will have this direction of speculation. In summary, overall, the author believes that the possibility of this creature's existence is not great. First of all, if the witness description is just a giant frog, I think it is still possible to exist, just like the long pond monster mentioned before. But the key point is the description of the humanoid figure and the ability to stand. I wonder if you have noticed that all the witnesses only said that they saw frog people, but none of them saw the characteristics of frogs jumping forward. Frogs are amphibians. If they want to learn to walk upright, it takes a long time to evolve, and the purpose of their evolution must be to adapt to terrestrial life. And all the events are inseparable from the riverbank, so I think the speculation of amphibian animals of the family Ranidae can be ruled out. Secondly, in the United States, mysterious creatures seem to have become an important part of the tourism industry. Combined with the vague descriptions of the previous sightings, I think it is possible that this is a fictional product, the purpose of which is to add mystery to certain urban areas. Regarding the strangest sighting in 2016, if you look closely here, the reflection on the water surface proves that the eyes of this creature are glowing by themselves, not caused by flash, so the element of prank should be higher. But the author is not absolutely sure here, because the witness swore an oath on what he saw. Well, no matter what the truth is, the Frogman has become a popular urban legend in the local area. Maybe the authenticity of its existence is no longer important. After all, the unknown is always greater than the known, which is also the charm of Uma. This video ends here. Thank you for watching.